welcome back to another episode of Armchair GMs. I'm your host, Tommy Tellerino, and alongside me today is the one and only, the amazing man himself, Jordan Navarro. Jordan, how we doing today?
Doing fantastic, Tommy. We wanted to record a little bit more often during free agency, but I went on spring break. You were on spring break. Schedules didn't align. And we had some car trouble. Yeah, it was just a wild little bit. Yeah. But, I'm doing great. It's good to finally be back talking about the NFL. And I'm ready to hop into this episode, man.
Yeah, we got a great episode for you guys today about the AFC West and the NFC West and how kind of the off seasons have turned out a little bit. If we think they've done a good job, if we think there's things they need to improve, if they want to be better than last year. But I think we should start out with, it's been a while since we've been on here to talk about some of these free agents and signings because we did day one of free agency. What are some of the best signings that you saw from teams since that time period of us not having an episode?
So the Titans, I want to say this was March 20th, I believe. They signed Sean Murphy-Bunting to a 1-year, $5 million deal. This is one of my favorite signings of the entire offseason. SMB is a great slot corner. And when you have a guy like Christian Kirk in your division, you need good slot corners. He's got a ton of potential, a ton of talent, still very young. Just had some injuries with Tampa Bay, but the Titans were in desperate need of corners on a 1-year, $5 million deal. It's a prove-it deal. I think that I give that signing an A+. I love that signing. Another signing I really liked was Chauncey Gardner-Johnson going to the Lions. He had a deal on the table to go back to Philadelphia, Tommy. Things didn't work out, but the Lions signed him to a 1-year, $8 million deal, 6.5 of that guaranteed. He's a great safety, can play nickel if you need him to, and we've been talking about it all offseason. They just need bodies.
Yes.
And not only, he's not just a body, he is a legit top-end talent at his position. That's massive. I think that's a great get for the Lions, and they're having a really, really solid offseason. I did have a deal that I didn't like too much, Tommy.
Oh, boy. Let's hear it.
I was a little confused by, I'm going to be honest. That's the Darius Slay signing. He's a great corner. Don't get me wrong. They brought back James Bradbury before this, and they ended up releasing Darius Slay, so I thought they were done with him. There's just... He's 32. They signed him to a 2-year, $42 million contract. That is a lot of money for a team. Philadelphia's had a rough offseason. I don't think anyone will deny it. They've lost a lot of talent on the defensive end. That's fine. They've had great drafts recently. They've got some prospects in waiting. They're going to be able to fill those holes, hopefully, from inside. And they still have a ton of draft picks this year as well, and they have a top pick. So I'm fine with that. But there's good value in the corner position in this draft, and to bring back Darius Slay on this type of contract, I feel like it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I'm going to be honest. I think I would have rather just moved away from him, kept Bradbury, drafted a guy, especially where they are in the draft. They have a top 10 pick. So that I don't really see a whole lot of sense in signing him to a big contract when we could replace him in the draft.
Yeah, I was a little shocked by the Slay cutting just because it was one of his best years, I thought, as a corner. And is his new deal worth more than his previous deal was? Or is it around the same?
I don't know, to be honest. I don't know what type of contract he was on beforehand.
Because I was going to say
2 years, $42 million is a lot, regardless.
But I didn't know it would end up being for around $40 million. I thought for some reason it was around like 30 to 25. But I'm glad you brought up Detroit because Detroit, I thought, did a really good job rebuilding the secondary basically in 1 week. Really, they added in some nice veterans, and I think they fit in well with the playing style. I think in Detroit, so I'm interested to see how that ends up. I had a couple deals where I I liked. The one I really liked, which a lot of people think he fumbled the bag, was Orlando Brown for the Bengals. They ended up getting him on a pretty solid deal, I thought. I think he's going to really help out that offensive line. We've seen what he can do. It's still a lot. They still end up paying a lot for him, but it wasn't as much as we thought Orlando Brown was going to sign for. We thought he was going to break records for an offensive tackle deal. He didn't get it in Kansas City, and me and you both thought he was going to Chicago, and he ends up in Cincinnati. I thought that's a great deal by Cincinnati.
Yeah, he did fumble the bag. I think two things can be true here. He did fumble the bag, but he's going to an equally as good team. If he had signed for that much with Chicago, I can see where we would give him more flack. Orlando Brown, it'd be a great signing for Chicago, don't get me wrong. But just himself. But to lose out on that money, but you're going to just an equally as good team with, Cincinnati and Kansas City, the AFC runs through them right now. So, I don't think he's going to cry over some money that he left on the table because it's not like he's not going to be able to contend for a championship. And Cincinnati really hasn't been able to solve their offensive line problems. So signing Orlando Brown is huge for them, obviously.
And it looks like they're going to trade Jonah Williams. I mean, they're talks with teams now. He did request a trade right after Orlando Brown was signed. Another solid signing, I thought, was the Jets with Allen Lazard. I think pairing him with Garrett Wilson, I think that's a good 1-2 combo for the foreseeable future. Garrett Wilson was a rookie last year. He had an amazing year with Zach Wilson at quarterback. So, the sky's the limit if he actually has a good quarterback. We'll talk about Rodgers later, but I think either way, adding to that wide receiver room with Lazard, I thought was a good idea. I thought Carolina did a solid job with they kind of bolstered up the weapons a little bit. I think what they did, what I liked, is they brought in veterans where I think the transition for a rookie quarterback is going to be easier for him.
Yeah, and DJ Moore is a great talent. You can't deny that. He's only 25. He's kind of a, I don't want to say franchise icon because he's not. He's not there yet. But from where, what was on the roster, he was their guy. He was the face of that franchise. So moving off of him is tough, but they're, getting the number one to get CJ Stroud or any of these quarterbacks is great. I'm with you. I like the Miles Sanders signing. I don't love spending money on running backs. I'll give it a C grade. But, Thielen, if they could go get a guy like Chark, they got Hayden Hurst. Veteran weapons to bring your rookie quarterback in, learn the system, and then you go get, his second or third year in the league. Then you go get him an A.J. Brown. Then you go get him, a DJ Moore, a Jamar Chase, that guy. You go get him that then. You got to figure out if the guy's any good yet or not. So I don't mind what they're doing. I guess you can say it's a waste of money because they already had DJ Moore on the roster. I get that, and Dante Foreman. But I don't hate it. It makes sense.
Yeah, the thing I liked is they're kind of like all security blankets for whatever rookie quarterback they draft, which I think that if you don't have reliable targets for rookie QB, I think it just makes the process way worse. And I think they're doing a great job after trading for the number one pick because we'll talk about that later. It's still up in the air who they take. Any other deals that you like before we move on to the AFC West?
Nothing that really stands out. We've had a lot of just small, minor signings.
Yeah.
I guess one that's everyone's kind of up in arms about because the running back market is just so volatile. Everyone talks about Rashad Penny signing for pretty much a minimum. 1 year, 1.3. He can be absolutely amazing for Philadelphia. I don't think anyone doubts that. I think they're still probably going to draft a guy. They brought back Boston Scott on a $2 million deal. So he's making more money than Rashad Penny currently. And they have Kenneth Gainwell still there. They could draft a guy, which we'll talk about that, later on. But if he stays healthy, great player. But I was just kind of mentioning him. The running back signing I love the most is actually Dante Foreman going to Chicago. I don't think people realize how good he was last year. He came in when the Panthers traded Christian McCaffrey, went full-blown tank mode, they actually got better. They fired Matt Rule. They made a run at the playoffs. Dante Foreman was a huge reason for that. He played outstanding. Going to Chicago, they want to run the ball. I think he's 235, big bruiser back, has great vision. He's going to fit in perfectly there with a change of pace back like Khalil Herbert right next to him. And they got Travis Homer for the, receiving work and things like that. I think that's perfect. I love that signing.
Yeah, Foreman, he had some big games for Carolina last year. He was getting, I want to say a couple games, he had around like 30 carries at one point. So,
yeah.
I think that's a great signing. There's also a couple running backs still out there, and some have signed. Damian Harris signed with Buffalo. Zeke, he is cut. And Eckler, he might be on the market. So I think you're still going to see some running backs on the move to look out for in the before the draft, I'd say. You never know.
Yeah.
But I say we start out this AFC West with the Super Bowl champs, Kansas City. I think they haven't done a lot of moves, but the moves they have done, I felt like have been pretty good. Going into the offseason, their needs were wide receiver, offensive tackle, and safety. They added Juwan Taylor for offensive tackle, which I think we talked about it last episode.
Yeah, he was one of the first guys to sign.
It was a good sign.
They got him from Jacksonville. He's a good pass blocker, and he's a good right tackle. On the same coin, Tommy, I know where you're kind of going with this. They did lose Orlando Brown, but they replaced him with Juwan Taylor, who I think is fine. Picked up Mike Edwards at safety, Tommy. He's solid. Nothing to write home about really. They just needed depth there. I think they gave Juan Thornhill a new deal potentially. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I read that somewhere. The signing I want to talk about the most actually is Charles Omenihu from San Fran. That guy's a beast. He is a low-key beast. He's very good at rushing the passer from the inside. I was very upset when he left. I didn't want him to stay in San Fran. Great rotational piece, and will give them big snaps and big production on that defensive line for fairly cheap.
Yeah, I mean he's going to replace Frank Clark for him on that DN spot. I think Kansas City's done a solid job. We talked about their needs, O tackle and safety, and they did just what they need to do at that. Wide receiver, there's still a little bit of issue. They are losing Juju. He is going to New England. But you got Sky Moore, who looked really well in the playoffs. You got Kadarius Toney. You still have Valdez-Scantling. You have Travis Kelce still. And I feel like they've been really good at drafting and for the past couple years where they find some late-round gems. So I'm not worried about that with them. And with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, I feel like the wide receivers aren't going to matter as much compared to another team. They also add actually breaking news right now. It's actually about the Chiefs. McCole Hardman is going to the New York Jets on a 1-year deal. I think it's a solid signing for the Jets. I think that's a pretty good wide receiver room of Wilson, Lazard, and Hardman. It gets some options out there.
You still have Elijah Moore.
Yeah.
It pretty much seals the deal that Corey Davis is probably going to get cut or traded at some point. Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
But that hurts the Chiefs.
Yeah.
But like you said, they have Sky Moore. The talent is undeniable with him and Toney. I think they're both very similar players, but they're electric with the ball in their hands. And I think that's what Andy Reid wants to do.
Yeah.
I think he just wants to move the ball around a lot of different formations, give Patrick Mahomes just, ample opportunities to just throw quick short passes and get them to the house. And, I think they will draft a wide receiver still. I would love to see them get someone like Jalen Hyatt or someone like that. I'm not very big on Jalen Hyatt personally. I don't think he's a phenomenal wide receiver. And I definitely wouldn't take him at 31, but if he was there on the board at 63 and they could get him just as someone to just let Patrick Mahomes air it out, because I think he's better than MVS, I'd be all over that.
Yeah, I mean, MVS, we joke all the time. He runs a great straight line. That's
Yes.
about it. Another signing for them was Drew Tranquil. He's coming over from the Chargers, interdivision. I think that's a good signing to kind of bolster up the linebackers. That was a little bit of a weakness at times for him, was linebacker play, but I think overall it's still going to be around the same, but it adds a little bit more depth into there. Am I missing any other signings for Kansas City? Any other players you want to talk about for Kansas City?
No, not really. They did lose Andrew Wiley, so they're still looking for O-line help. But yeah, I feel like they've been quiet, but that's kind of what you want to see out of Kansas City.
Yeah,
you just won a Super Bowl. You don't have to do too much. You just want to keep the core of your roster, make sure you don't get any like huge losses. It's kind of patchwork. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes, don't overdo it.
Yeah.
The rest of that division, though, you need to overdo it. You got some catching up to do.
Yeah, and we'll talk about one of the teams who's done the most in free agency so far, and that was Denver. I mean, Denver, I felt like went on a signing spree at one point in free agency to start out. Going in, they needed offensive line help terribly, I thought. The offensive line just did not hold up for them last year. Linebacker and defensive tackle were another concern. They came in with around $12 million in cap space. They don't have a lot of picks from the trade with Russell Wilson. Their first pick was 67 and then 68. So, I mean, that's tough with a team like this. But I thought they made some good signings. They reworked the offensive line. They ended up getting Ben Powers and McGlinchey. We talked about that last episode.
Yeah, that's a great right side of the line. And Sean Payton obviously wants to run the football, and those two guys are great at helping you do that. They didn't have a whole lot of key losses. The only guy they lost was Draymond Jones, who I actually think is a huge loss. He was having a great season. Kind of looked like the Bradley Chubb replacement. So it does suck to see him go for Denver. But I'm with you, Tommy. I think they did a lot. I think they've reworked that offensive line to the point where I'd almost be comfortable with it going into the season. They just need some defensive line depth, maybe some linebacker depth, but they did sign Zach Allen, who is, he's a solid defensive end. So there's still work to do. They need to hit on these draft picks, but assuming that Sean Payton can kind of bring back Mr. Unlimited, life will be good in Denver.
Yeah, and one thing I did want to mention with Denver, because it came out today, the Browns are interested in Jerry Jeudy for Denver. I like Jerry Jeudy. I think he's a solid wide receiver. If you're Denver, are you giving up on him this early? Because he's going into his third year.
No, I think Jerry Jeudy's the best receiver they have.
I was going to say, because Cortland Sutton's getting up there.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I'd rather move Cortland Sutton. I think he does less for you assuming Tim Patrick is healthy and he's coming back, I would rather have Tim Patrick and Jerry Jeudy than Tim Patrick and Cortland Sutton. I feel like that's redundant.
Yeah. And another defensive signing for Denver was Alex Singleton. And another loss I had for him, but I don't think it's that big. But I think with how the running back room shaped out, it can kind of be big for him. Was Chase Edmonds ended up leaving. But I don't think he matters too much. But if Javonte's not healthy at the start of the year, I think there's a little bit of concern. But overall, it is what it is.
Yeah, he was on a deal for a lot of money, so I don't think that, that's really, it's not really a key loss for them, but I do agree that they need to, and they signing that we don't have on here is actually Samaje Perine, who I thought was a very valuable signing at the running back position, and kind of replaced Chase Edmonds for cheaper, and he does a lot more than Chase Edmonds, and, Cincinnati was giving him snaps over Joe Mixon at the end of the year, so that tells you what type of skill he has.
I mean, yeah, it's probably not hard at times to be better than Joe Mixon at running back, but he looked, I don't want to say significantly better, but it was better than slightly better. So,
Yeah.
anything else you want to add for Denver?
No, they're doing what they need to do. It all hinges on Russell Wilson, man. Russell Wilson has to be good. If he's not good, this team, it doesn't matter how many moves they make.
I mean, Russ has to cook. I mean, it's just simple.
Sean Payton's cooking. Russ just has to serve. He's now awake.
I should have specified, yeah. But yeah, I think Sean Payton, I think he's done a good job coming in here and kind of getting his own players into the system, getting what he wants to have his team look like. I'll go with LA next. They haven't really done much this offseason. Coming in, they needed offensive tackle help, D-tackle help, and wide receiver, I thought. Mike Williams and Keenan Allen are still there, but you got to combine maybe 10 games out of them at most at times. So I think they're going to build that up through the draft, or they're going to trade for someone. I honestly thought Keenan Allen might have been cut by now. I'm kind of shocked that he isn't, or he's not traded yet.
Well, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I have the Chargers as one of my losers of the offseason. I haven't liked what they've done at all. They restructured a bunch of contracts. You restructured Joey Bosa. I don't know if it was Joey Bosa, but they definitely restructured Khalil Mack. I believe Bosa was there too. Restructured Mike Williams, restructured Keenan Allen. You've pushed all these cap hits down the road, and you've borrowed all this money from the future. Now you've got Mike Williams and Keenan Allen on these massive cap hits, and they're getting up there in age, especially Keenan Allen, and Mike Williams has his injury concerns. I don't love it, especially with Brandon Staley still being the head coach. I know they brought in a new offensive staff, but I've seen this story before. I think they're fumbling the bag. I would have loved to see them go get Brandon Cooks. I don't know why they weren't in on that for that price. I mean, he got traded for a bag of chips. He would have been perfect. Like, get a guy like Zay Flowers in the draft, maybe. Like, you got to get your Jalen Guyton, but he has to be better than Jalen Guyton because he's going to have to take Mike Williams or Keenan Allen's spot at some point. Josh Palmer's not that. I love Josh Palmer. He's a fourth wide receiver at best. Any day of the week. He can fill in for Keenan Allen in a pinch, and if you really squint, they kind of look like the same player. But you have no one to spread this offense out, go vertical, get behind. There's no one like that. Mike Williams used to be able to do that. He's more of a 50-50 ball guy now. He still is kind of their deep threat, but you got to have somebody that's faster than Mike Williams that can, get in behind, spread the field, let Justin Herbert let that thing loose. They haven't gotten anybody like that. I thought that was their biggest need of the offseason because Rashawn Slater is going to get healthy. They brought back Trey Pipkins. Their offensive line, it is what it is. It can always be better, but I don't trust them to make it better. I thought receiver was the most identifiable thing they could easily make better and make this offense better, and they haven't accomplished that at all.
Yeah.
All they did was get rid of Drew Tranquil, who played amazing for them last season, and add Eric Kendricks, who you're hoping will play just as good as Drew Tranquil. Will probably play better than Drew Tranquil did, but is it really that big of an upgrade? Truly, is it?
Not really.
Exactly. You're hoping Khalil Mack stays healthy, and then your defensive line, they're hoping for all these things to just happen, but they haven't upgraded the roster at all. It's the same damn team. You have the 21st pick, the 54th pick, 85th pick. You have 3 picks in the top 100. We need some impact talent. I need a receiver out of that. I need an offensive lineman if we can get one out of that. I need a DT who can actually stop the run and help the bleeding because Khalil Mack's not interested in stopping the run anymore. He's interested in hitting the
sacks.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's all you can ask him to do is getting up there in age. You need to keep him fresh because that's your impact defensive end with him and Bosa. I don't love what the Chargers have done. I feel like they've done nothing, to be honest.
And they might be in a worse situation because Austin Eckler, it sounds like he wants out. He's requested a trade. They didn't give him an extension he wanted. But I think we were talking about this last time. He wants top money, doesn't he?
Well, he said that he's underpaid, and it's not that he wants out of LA. He wants to stay in LA, but he wants them to pay him. And we did talk about this last time. He's not worth that money.
Yeah.
He's not. He's a great back that can catch the ball. He's dynamic. I get that. But if I'm talking just running back, he's not a very good running back. I would much rather draft somebody than pay him. I can go find me a back that can just catch the ball. They won't be as good as you, no. But we'll be fine with that. That's why there's committees now. That's why you don't pay one guy to do everything, because running backs are so injury prone. You can't pay one guy to do everything.
Yeah, and I think you hit everything on the head about this Chargers offense. Like you said, I'm with you on the deep threat. They have no deep threat, and when you got a guy like Justin Herbert who can throw the ball deep, it's a crime, I think, because you're wasting the guy's rookie contract right now. I feel like with Justin Herbert.
It's not that Mike Williams and Keenan Allen are bad. They're one of the best wide receiver duos in the league when they're on the field. Mike Williams is a phenomenal talent. He can go up there and get that ball. He can go, take those shots down the field to him. Keenan Allen, great possession receiver. But both of those guys are getting older. Keenan Allen for sure. Keenan Allen ain't going down the field no more. Okay? But you might see one or two like the season from him now. He is there. Third down, money down. It's third and Allen. Okay? You're going to Keenan on third down. He's going to catch everything.
Those 5-yard slants. That's it.
Red zone, short yardage, you're going to Keenan Allen. Donald Parham. Mike Williams, sure. In between the 20s, he can get out there. He can still run a little bit. But there's no one to take the top off. I'm not scared of Keenan Allen beating me deep. Mike Williams is never on the field, so, he has to be on the field to beat me. And even when he is, we saw Patrick Surtain. He put the locks on that man. He had him in a 4x4, in a cell. He was in solitary confinement.
And if you are getting beat by Keenan Allen, there's a problem with the secondary at this point. Like, I love Keenan Allen. I think he's been an amazing receiver, but he's on the back end of his career now, I feel like. He's had some really great years. He's 32, I want to say.
Yeah, short yardage, middle of the field. He's really good at getting open. He's still a great route runner.
Slants, curls, outs, zigs, ins. That's his playbook for the whole year. If you can't guard that on him, there's a problem. Anything else you want to add for LA?
No. Let's get to this dumpster fire that's happening in Vegas.
Vegas, they came in as one of the most teams with cap space, and I don't know what's going on here. I'm going to be honest. This just seems like they just want to go like 8-9, 6-11 on the year. So going into the offseason, they already said, Derek Carr, you're not coming back. we don't want you at all. So there's a need for quarterback right there. Jared Stidham was gone immediately. He's like, I'm not staying here in Vegas. I'll go to Denver, be back up for Russell Wilson, which, he's going to be working under Sean Payton. He'll probably get a offensive coaching gig at some point in his life. And then you got O-tackle that was a need. Wide receiver was a need because outside of Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow was hurt. Darren Waller did not want to get healthy off of his injury. That was about it. You had Mac Hollins. Mac Hollins is a good receiver, but I don't know if I want him as my wide receiver too. They needed an edge rusher, and they needed a lot on this team. They were not good. So I'll go with the losses first. They lose Carr, and they lost Waller. Waller, I'm not surprised they traded him because he's not on the field. I think he just didn't get on the field the last season because he didn't want to play in Vegas. I think that's ultimately what happened. They lost Mac Hollins. He ends up signing with Atlanta. And they lost Farrell, who I believe went to San Fran.
He did.
Which, that was a big signing. I thought, he's still a young guy and he can help out that defense. So how are they going to replace these guys, Jordan? How do you think they would have replaced them?
Well, you have the 7th pick, Tommy, so, I know what I know now. But going in, I said, Derek Carr, gone. 7th pick, we're going to move up in the draft. We're going to take a guy that Josh McDaniels wants, or we're going to think Will Levis or Anthony Richardson is going to be there at 7. We'll take one of them if Josh McDaniels wants him, and we'll keep it rolling. No, that's not what they did at all. They went and signed Jimmy Garoppolo, who, on
Josh
his
McDaniels
best
wants
day,
him.
on his best day, there's some familiarity there, so I understand the signing from Josh McDaniels' point of view. But on his best day, just as good as Derek Carr. Like, if they're both at their peaks,
All right, we had some technical difficulties right there, but where we left off, talking about Jimmy Garoppolo. Talked about his signing with the Raiders.
Yeah, so we know what type of quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo is. And if we're assuming they're both going to be at their peak powers under Josh McDaniels, which not a lot of quarterbacks are. It's just how his head coaching tenures usually go. They're the same quarterback, him and Carr.
Yeah.
And here's my thing. That's even more. I understand that Josh McDaniels is Coach Jimmy. He understands he's a pro. He's a professional. I have nothing bad to say about Jimmy Garoppolo, but his number one receiver is Devontae Adams. Probably the best receiver he's ever played with. Devontae attacks outside the numbers a lot. You can put him in the slot, sure. I mean, that's fine. He's probably the best slot receiver in the NFL if you put him there. But Jimmy doesn't push the ball down the field. It's a dink and dunk offense. He won't even take the shots that Derek Carr takes, and Derek Carr needs to be a dink and dunk quarterback. He doesn't want to be, but he should be. So you're kind of limiting Devontae Adams, and you're paying all this money. You're going to limit him. You're going to limit his best asset. So, like you said, they needed another wide receiver, so they got Jacoby Myers, who's the black version of Hunter Renfrow. He's another slot guy. Yeah, he can play outside. Josh McDaniels has played him outside before in New England, sure.
He scored one touchdown on the year when that happened.
So now we have Jacoby Myers, who's more of like a bigger slot guy, Hunter Renfrow, who's purely a slot guy, and Devontae Adams, who can play anywhere. They're all three of them share a common denominator. They're all great route runners. I don't care. I don't. Jimmy Garoppolo is a great distributor of the football. He's a great game manager. I don't trust Josh McDaniels to scheme up anything brilliant. We've lost Darren Waller. So there goes our red zone threat. We're bringing back Josh Jacobs. Like, it's just the same offense with extra steps. That's all it is. And I've already seen it. It wasn't good. Sure, Jimmy Garoppolo maybe throws less picks than Derek Carr, maybe keeps you on schedule a little bit better. Maybe that's all you need. That's probably not it. You need a new head coach.
I mean, we've said it before. If they had the money to fire him, they would, but they don't.
3 years, $33 million for Jacoby Myers. I like Jacoby Myers. I think he's a good wide receiver. 3 years, $33 million when we had Hunter Renfrow, who's on the last year of his contract, for $10 million, and Devontae Adams, and Darren Waller, who they've traded, sure. And we're bringing back Josh Jacobs. Why did we spend money on weapons? We had weapons. What?
Yeah.
That's the one thing you had a decent amount of is weapons.
They had a mix of everything too.
Had a good tight end. Yeah. You had a really good wide receiver, a fine wide receiver too in Hunter Renfrow. Could have picked up another guy like Matt Collins. They kept what's his name? Keelan Cole. He was fine. You know, he could have made do with what you had.
They signed Philip Dorsett too.
Yeah, you don't need. You had Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, Josh Jacobs, Darren Waller. Does Jimmy Garoppolo need more weapons than that?
No.
Are we really going to supply him with more weapons than that? So here we go at the 7th pick. Now we have Jimmy on a 3-year contract. So if I want to bring a guy in, he's going to sit for at least a year, but then I'm going to have to try to find somebody to take Jimmy's contract, which is not. It wasn't a bad contract. This isn't about Jimmy Garoppolo. Okay, the signing in a vacuum, whatever. It's the fact that we had the 7th overall pick and a team that should rebuild, and we're not going to rebuild. We're going to try to go again. Jimmy Garoppolo, if Russell Wilson comes back and is any good, has any shred of talent left, he's the worst quarterback in that division by a mile.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong.
So our best chance is what? 9-8, miss the playoffs? Yeah. 10-7, miss the playoffs? I guess.
I mean, just they're looking at this division. They're like, man, we have to play Kansas City twice, the Chargers twice, and Denver twice. They're not beating Kansas City with this team. It's going to be a dogfight, maybe, at best. But there's no way. I think they get smoked both games. It seems like they always get smoked one game. Chargers, okay. That's 50-50. Denver, it's 50-50. But if you're not winning this division, I don't see them making the playoffs.
No, and you can say, well, they're going to play, what they finished third? Was it third or last? They're playing a third to last place schedule, so sure, maybe it's supposed to be easier. Josh McDaniels makes nothing easy. I mean, let me tell you. We saw that last year. Their highlight win of the season was Jacoby Myers throwing the ball to Chandler Jones.
Which I'm glad he brought that up.
That was their highlight win.
That's collusion right there now. That is what it is. I knew something was up. Jacoby was like, hey, Josh, I got you. I'm coming there next year. Bill doesn't want to pay me because I can only score 4 touchdowns in my 4 years here at New England. I got you. Chandler, get your hands up, big fella. Go catch that ball. Mac Jones is not going to tackle you at all. He's a frat Alabama party boy. I mean, it's collusion. I got down to it. I can sleep good at night knowing that New England should have won that game, but Jacoby Myers was selling. That's it. I just need to get that off my chest.
Finally got to the end of it. But they have the pick 7, 38, 70, 100. So 4 top 100 picks. And you got the 109. Bunch of mid to late picks. Sure. You have a lot of chances to add talent. They need to hit on most of them. But I don't understand spending all this money to try to just tank.
Yes.
You're going to need a generational quarterback to get over the Josh McDaniels diff and being in Patrick Mahomes' conference or in division. Jimmy Garoppolo is not winning you this division. There's no hell would freeze over before he wins this division.
This ain't the NFC West no more.
Like, come on now. Are we really going to say, well, Jimmy played in the NFC West? That's a great division. You're right. I love the NFC West. He had the best coach, one of the best coaches in football, top 3, the best roster in football, top to bottom, who was coached by the best defensive coordinator. Sean McVay is owned by Kyle Shanahan. Jimmy Garoppolo didn't win that division for us, okay? So he's not going to come over here with Josh McDaniels and start a Patriots dynasty. That's not going to happen. You're going to finish last place and get laughed at. That's probably what's going to happen.
I just love we got rid of Darren Waller. Who are we going to bring in to replace him?
O.J. Howard.
O.J. Howard, the Alabama legend, the guy who was Jameis Winston's favorite target for about 2 seasons and then fell off the face of the earth after that. I mean,
it's just, what are we doing, Vegas?
Yeah.
We trying to get some money so we can fire Josh McDaniels, so we got to fill the seats up? Like, that's the only thing I can think of.
It's just a dumpster fire in Vegas with a really nice stadium.
And a handsome quarterback.
Yes.
He raised the sexiness factor on that team tenfold. I'll give him that. Very handsome, man.
Yes.
Very handsome.
I mean, just the chiseled chin and everything. George Kittle said it best. I mean, he will be missed in San Fran with the handsomeness. But I think it's about time we throw it to the NFC West. I really don't want to talk about that dumpster fire in Vegas anymore. If you're okay with that.
Yeah, fine with that. But let's stay in the desert. Let's start with Arizona
let's get that dumpster fire out of the way first.
Okay, let me go ahead and we're not, we'll do our predictions in the summer right before the season starts. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and predict this. This is a bottom 4 team in the NFL.
Again.
They're terrible. They have the worst offensive line in football now. They have the worst defensive line in football. This team is going to stink. Horrendous. Very stinky. I'm talking, you've worn the same socks to the gym 7 straight days and left them in your duffel bag over the weekend. In the trunk of your car. Okay? It's going to be that type of stink. It's going to be horrendous. Jonathan Gannon, sure. Cool. I mean, I wish the guy the best of luck. I always like to see new coaches come into the league. I don't have any problems with him. I would have liked to see an offensive coordinator get this job because you have Kyler Murray tied to this huge contract. So why would we not get a coach to get the most out of it to try to get some value? I don't know. But
it makes too much sense, man.
Yeah. So we've lost Cody Ford, who was a fine offensive lineman. He's gone. We lost Byron Murphy, one of our best defenders. He's gone. We lost Zach Allen, one of our best defenders. He's gone. It's Buda Baker and Inshallah now, and that's not enough. It's going to be terrible. Who do we add? Zach Pascal and Kaiser White, who are both the most mid signings you could possibly make. But wait, we have picks 3, 35, 67, 97, 106. Should be plenty of talent. But we're not going to move from the 103. No, we're going to take Will Anderson, who's a great prospect. Phenomenal prospect, Tommy. He's probably the best edge rusher in this draft. He's a force to be reckoned with. I need more than that.
You need a lot more than that for this team.
That one pick does not transform my defense because there's nothing left. There's absolutely zero left. J.J. Watt walked out that door and left. There's nothing there. There's no heart, no soul. Buda Baker and Inshallah. That's all we got.
You're forgetting something.
What?
Isaiah Simmons can play safety and linebacker, though.
Oh, yeah, he's a bum. Offensively, Kyler Murray might miss the first month of the season. It doesn't matter. He comes back, worst offensive line in football, but he's got D-Hop, who we should trade. He should have been traded
He's already out
weeks
the door.
ago.
Yeah.
Pardon my F-bomb. Sorry, I'm getting very passionate. And then we've got Marquise Brown. He's fine. I love Marquise Brown.
Hollywood.
James Conner, he's old and overpaid now. Whatever. Worst offensive line in football. Let me reiterate that. Let me really emphasize worst offensive line in football. The Titans fixed their offensive line. The Cardinals obviously they don't care. They said, Kyler Murray, you're going to be gimpy the first year back off your ACL. Who cares? Run around. Playground. Jonathan Gannon's not drawing up plays. You're going to go out there, and we're going to give you a Sharpie, and you're going to draw plays on the football, and that's how we're going to run our offense.
They say keep playing those double XP weekends.
Because we
got something for you Sundays.
We've got $190 million fully guaranteed locked up in you, and we don't care to protect you. Don't secure the investment at all. Who cares? This team is going to be stinky. Stinky.
Before we move on, the one thing I do want to bring up is just DeAndre Hopkins. Amazing year after shooting up the roids and getting suspended for the first 6 or 7 weeks. I can't remember. But, I mean, he was on a tear. He's probably going to be gone.
He needs to be gone.
What are you looking for if you're Arizona for DeAndre Hopkins?
You look at what Brandon Cooks got. Yeah, you look at what Brandon Cooks got. It's got to be something similar to that. D-Hop's and Brandon Cooks. Yeah, we need a third.
Okay.
If you can get a third, that's phenomenal. If you can get a second, which I don't think anyone's going to give him a second, that's even better. But we need at least a third or a fourth. And you need to trade back from 3. Because as it stands right now, the Colts have no reason to trade back or trade up, right? Everyone's talking about the Colts quarterback. Everyone knows the Panthers are going to take the 101, that quarterback. Know that Houston's probably going to take a quarterback at 2. The Colts have no reason to move because you have $190 million tied up in the midget. So we know you're not taking a quarterback, so the Colts aren't going to move up. I need you, and now the Raiders have signed Jimmy Garoppolo. I need them to find a team that needs a quarterback somewhere and get them to move up to 3 because just taking Will Anderson is not going to do enough. Sure, it's a great start, but this team is in desperate need of some help, some game-changing help. Will Anderson's a game changer. It makes too much sense to not move from 3 if this quarterback class is getting the reception that we think it is. Now, I mean, this time last year, Malik Willis was supposed to be, this amazing prospect. Everyone loved him. So things changed getting closer to the draft. So we'll see then. But as of right now, if people love these quarterbacks this much, and we're talking about Anthony Richardson potentially going 101 or whatever, I need you to move from the 3rd pick.
I mean, the little football baby, Kyler Murray, is just going to be scrambling. It's going to be like Patrick Mahomes in that Super Bowl against Tampa, just the whole season.
Yes.
That's exactly what it's going to be like. I think we've said enough about Arizona. We'll move on to this team's it's a little less stinky. It's still not great. It could be a lot better, but it could be a lot worse, and that's the LA Rams. They traded Jalen Ramsey for a bag of chips. That's exactly how they started free agency. They picked up a guy who had a total of 2 catches in his whole career for Jalen Ramsey.
Listen, he wanted to go to Miami. They granted his wishes, sent him there, so I won't give him much flack for that trade. They apparently they still want to move Allen Robinson and all these more high priced.
Sure,
bets.
They do.
They've already released Leonard Floyd and Bobby Wagner. They're trying to reset their team. Just get an offensive line in front of Matthew Stafford. That's really all you can do, and then hope that Sean McVay and Stafford and Kupp and Cam Akers, who I think is going to be better than people realize, can, run that offense efficiently and still produce results there, and then hope Aaron Donald can carry your defense. That's probably your best bet. I don't see any game changers walking through that door right now. This is just kind of a team in transition. I mean, I won't give them much flack. They sold their soul for the Super Bowl. They won it. So, I mean, this is them paying the Pied Piper.
Yeah, I mean, they made like one move, and that was for a lineman this offseason. There's still some needs, but it's kind of, to me, it's kind of like a patchwork for this team. I feel like they have a ton of late round picks though, so there's a chance they do find some gems in the later rounds. They got 36, 69, 77, 167, 171, 177, 182, 189, 191. A lot of picks.
Yeah.
They're just in a tough division because they lost Ramsey. They lost their backup quarterback. I thought they were going to bring back Baker on a minimum deal. He ends up signing with Tampa. They lost two of their special teamers in Matt Gay and Riley Dixon. So there's just holes all over this team right now. But like you said, they got a Super Bowl, and they're paying the price for it now.
Yep.
I think that's it. Anything else you want to add for LA?
No.
We'll go Seattle, and I'll let you finish off with San Fran to finish off all the teams. Seattle, they signed back Geno Smith. I felt like they made a couple quiet signings. They came in with the 8th most cap space. They still needed a center, and they needed to get some work done on the defensive side. They needed a safety, linebacker, and a D tackle. And I was a big fan of the Julian Love signing. They got him.
I think I think he played really well in New York. He Notre Dame guy, Notre Dame legend. He played really well in New York. Great signing. That was a great signing. The signing I loved the most was Draymond Jones. I think that's a huge signing for them. I think he can be a great defender for this team. They brought back Jaron Reed, who I thought was huge, and then they signed Devin Bush, who's a fine linebacker. I think Seattle has quietly had a very good offseason. Geno Smith's contract, very team-friendly, gives them an out. They're picking at 5, so if Anthony Richardson's there, they can pick him up. They can pick Levis up, let him sit behind Geno for a year or two. You could potentially have your franchise quarterback, or you can take Jalen Carter or Will Anderson if he's there and get a really impact edge rusher for a team that's already pretty good. Seattle has had a phenomenal offseason, and they're really setting themselves up to be, I think, easily the second best team in this division and should definitely be contending for the playoffs again.
I'm glad you brought that up, contending for the playoffs, because I feel like their floor right now, based off this offseason, how they started, their floor, I think, is how they finished last year. I think they can only go up from here. They added the defensive pieces they needed. The offense didn't need a lot of work. The offensive line is very young, and I thought they held up great until they played San Fran a couple times later in the season.
Yeah,
that's going to happen to you. It is what it is. But other than that, throughout the rest of the year, they did a great job. But they've been very quiet, but they made the signings that they needed to make.
Yep.
And then I'll let you take it away for San Fran.
Interesting offseason for us. Jimmy Garoppolo was a guaranteed loss, so I won't really, it is what it is. Jimmy Ward was a huge loss. I would have loved to keep him. Now we're going to have to try to find a new nickel corner. Brought back Tayshaun Gibson. He's going to fill that safety spot. I like that. Emmanuel Mosley leaving also hurt. And Al-Shair leaving hurt. Jordan Willis I wasn't really too concerned with because any guy in Charles Omenihu, I'm fine with our defensive line. I think we have the best defensive line coach in the NFL. We're going to find talent. That's what we're really good at, finding guys that are underutilized or haven't really put much production on tape, and then we make those guys really good and make them productive. So that doesn't really concern me that much. We'll figure out our defensive line, putting any of those guys next to Javon Hargrave, Eric Armstead, Nick Bosa, they're going to be
big three. Yeah.
Yeah. Some of the signings that we've made have been fine. Sam Darnold, hopefully I never have to see him play, but you could do much worse for a QB3. Jake Brendel, bringing him back, huge. He was a great center. He got a really good deal. Cleveland Farrell, like I said, just mentioned, we find guys who are kind of underutilized, and this guy has high draft pedigree. He was talented at Clemson. Getting with our defensive line coach, he could possibly make some noise. Isaiah Oliver and Miles Hartsfield, both versatile DBs, can play a multitude of different positions and in different spots. So I like that. But yeah, we've done what we needed to. The Javon Hargrave signing came out of left field. I did not expect that. That's a huge signing for us. A little more money than I thought we'd give him if we did sign him. But it's fine. It gives Javon Kinlaw a seat on the bench where he needs to be. I'm tired of seeing him play, so that helps me. We have picks 99, 101, 102, so we got a chance to add some decent pieces. I'd love to see us go get a tackle. We lost Mike McGlinchey. Not a huge loss, by the way. He's just fine. I think Colton McKivitz could fill his spot perfectly. But I'd love to see us go get some more offensive line help, get another tight end, because I think we need to start thinking about life after Kittle, and we definitely need to find a new backup. I really like Sam Laporta, and I forget the guy's first name, but his last name is Mallory. He has some of the best hips I've ever seen on a tight end. The guy moves like he's Cooper Kupp. I forget his first name, but Mallory, the tight end, really like him. And I'd love to see us get just some rotational depth for the defensive line. We still probably need another impact defensive end to help Drake Jackson. Other than that, I feel like we've filled a lot of our needs, and we need a kicker. Right now, the biggest need is kicker because we don't have Robbie Gould.
Which that can be a huge loss. Robbie Gould was automatic. So I think they will bring him back. I know they were in talks for a little while. Did the discussion break off?
I have no idea. I haven't heard anything updated.
You never know. I mean, you see how important the kicker is. Just look at the Dallas-Tampa Bay game. I mean, if you got a kicker like that, there's a chance that you're going home early in the playoffs. Anything else you want to add for San Fran?
No, we've had a solid offseason. We've had some big losses, but we filled those holes, and it's going to be on our coaching staff to, shape some of these guys up to fill their spots. But they've been doing that the last couple seasons, so not really that worried.
Yeah,
it's really the quarterback thing, Trey Lance, Brock Purdy. What can they do?
Yeah. That's all the teams for today. But we're going to talk about some rumors now, and I think we have to start off with keeping up with Lamar Jackson, I'll say. I mean, we talk about him every week. The Lamar saga continues. The man is still not paid. I mean, it's just a travesty. Apparently, he turned down $133 million guaranteed for 3 years. He said he's going to release a statement on YouTube. Is that what it was?
I don't know.
It's crazy. But they're saying, so the teams that are out on him, yes, teams are out on Lamar Jackson, the former NFL MVP. Carolina said they were out on him. Atlanta said they were out on him. There was one other team I can't remember off the top of my head. But they're saying there's a chance right now. Could Lamar Jackson be a Tennessee Titan or an Indianapolis Colt? Could he be heading to the AFC South?
Well, Shane Steichen wants to run that Philadelphia offense, and I think he is dreaming a dream of Anthony Richardson. I'm going to be honest. Here's my thing. If you want to take Anthony Richardson at 4, that's fine. You're hoping he turns into Lamar Jackson. So if I had a chance to get Anthony Richardson or Lamar Jackson, I would simply just pay Lamar Jackson. I would be perfectly fine giving up the 4th overall pick and my first next year to sign him to a contract that the Ravens don't want to sign him to. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. But the guy has an MVP. He's only 26 years old. He'd be playing behind one of the better offensive lines he's ever played behind. He'd have some weapons. It doesn't seem like a hard decision for me. And offense, at Shane Steichen, it's very, it's friendly to mobile quarterbacks. So whatever there. And then the other team was the Titans, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what the Titans are doing. You're keeping Ryan Tannehill, but they've cleaned house. Rand went in there and he cleaned house. They've added some low key signings and kind of beefed up the offensive lineup a little bit. If they could get Lamar, that'd be perfect. That would really expedite that kind of like soft rebuild, retool. And I think a report came out yesterday that Lamar wanted to move on from the Ravens. I don't really think that's true.
No.
I think Lamar would be fine with staying in Baltimore. They just need to give him his money. 3-year, 133. I mean, fully guaranteed. Sure, you can say on the surface it's not a bad contract, but it's Lamar Jackson. The guy has an MVP. Why am I giving him Kirk Cousins money? That's Kirk Cousins money. Kirk Cousins got what, 2 years, 80-something million, fully guaranteed when he signed with Minnesota. Come on now, let's be real.
I mean, it's a travesty. It really is, and I still have that feeling he's gonna end up in Washington because Dan Snyder's gonna just stick it to.
I hope so. I would forgive everything Dan Snyder's done. Not really, but man, it would be hilarious.
I just have that weird feeling. But one quarterback to another, we'll go back to the other who has his own drama going on. There's nothing else you want to add on Lamar, right? Yeah. So the other drama-filled quarterback right now, Aaron Rodgers, he came out and said he wants to be a New York Jet. He wants to be traded there. The deal's not done though, so the Packers still have him on the roster. When should we expect to see Aaron Rodgers traded? Is it after the draft, before the draft, draft night? When's this going down?
I would hope in the next week or two. Trey Wingo, who I guess he's kind of been the guy to break all the news on this thus far, other than Pat McAfee, who shout out to Pat McAfee. Aaron Rodgers came on there and they had 600,000 people watching that show.
Yeah.
I mean, it was crazy. Shout out to Pat. He wants to be a Jet. Make him a Jet.
They want the first round picks, Green Bay.
Listen, I get what the Packers are doing. Yeah. They want to get fairly compensated or whatever. You've lost all leverage. He has said, my intention is to play in New York and play for the Jets. That your leverage was wiped out when that statement was made. If you wanted to keep leverage and make it seem like there's a bidding war for Aaron Rodgers, you should have never let him go into the darkness and never...
Or just traded him while he was in the darkness.
Yeah. Or let him go to Pat McAfee. I mean, it's crazy to me. Why is he not a Jet? Get this done. We're arguing over semantics. The Jets are not that desperate, obviously, because now he said he wants to be a Jet. So they know eventually he's going to be a Jet. The Packers want to move on. They're tired of Aaron Rodgers. They want to get something back for him. He wants to be a Jet. Agree to 1 first-round pick. Agree to a third-round pick. I don't care. The people want Aaron Rodgers on the Jets. Garrett Wilson dynasty owners like me want Aaron Rodgers on the Jets. Get it done.
It's just crazy how he held both these teams hostage for...
Yeah, I mean, the Packers haven't been able to do anything this offseason because they've had a cap hit from hell sitting on their roster.
I just
Aaron
don't
Rodgers
get it.
was in the darkness. I mean, I don't know what he was doing.
He was doing some psychedelics, I'll tell you that. That's what he was doing.
I don't know how he used the bathroom. I mean, pitch black. There's a lot of things I couldn't do in the pitch black.
You got to go crazy while you're just sitting in darkness for 4 days in darkness. It's a weird guy, man.
Here's the thing. Another thing with the Jets, he said he was 90% retired, Tommy, when he went into the darkness.
What? Was he now 50-50?
Yeah. So you want me to give you 2 first-round picks for a guy that might not even make it through the season? He might show up to training camp and say, damn, this ain't Green Bay. I don't want to learn all these guys' names. I don't want to learn their routes. I don't want to learn this playbook. I'm out.
Why is there media all over me?
Yeah, this might happen. Who knows? It's Aaron Rodgers. He does what he wants to do.
This is just you can't make this stuff up. Some of the stuff that he's done, it's just crazy. But we'll talk about another quarterback who this came out of left field for me. Cam Newton. Was it Auburn Pro Day yesterday? Today?
Yes, Auburn Pro Day. It was yesterday.
He's throwing. He said he wants to make a comeback and that he's better. There's not 32 players that are better than him. I'm not going to say what he actually said. But Jordan, I have it pulled up here. I got the potential 32 starting quarterbacks right now.
Hold on, wait. Let me opening statement on this.
Okay.
People forget how good Cam Newton was.
He was great.
When he was at the peak, before his shoulder injury, we had never seen a quarterback like Cam Newton. He was super Cam. He was amazing. Every little kid wanted to be like him. He had Carolina in a frenzy. They went to the Super Bowl. It was amazing. Cam Newton was a spectacle. He was a great athlete. He's one of the better quarterbacks of his generation. Let's not forget that. It sucks that he got injured, and it sucks that what has happened to him has happened to him. With that being said, with his flowers being delivered, please name off the 32 potential starting quarterbacks, and I will tell you if I'd rather have Cam Newton or not.
So, I will say, there's probably like maybe 2 or 3 quarterbacks that he's better than right now, but you got to take in mind that these guys are young guys, so you got to see what you got with them over what you already know you're getting with Cam Newton. So, this is going to go AFC to NFC.
Okay.
Josh Allen, Buffalo.
No.
Tua.
No.
Mac Jones.
No.
Aaron Rodgers.
No.
So he's not going to the AFC East. AFC West. Russell Wilson.
No.
Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes with no legs.
Yes.
He would still be worse.
Justin Herbert.
No.
Jimmy G.
He's handsome. He's also a better quarterback.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. We'll go to the Lamar Jackson.
I mean, no.
Joe Burrow.
Yeah, no.
Deshaun Watson.
No, I saw Deshaun Watson at his worst in his NFL career last year.
We got the...
Yeah, I saw him at his worst last year. I'd still rather have Deshaun Watson.
Kenny Pickett.
No.
You got to see what you got for him. I mean, you got to see what kind of talent.
Cam Newton's not a better quarterback right now.
Yeah.
We saw the last time I saw Cam Newton, he couldn't throw 10 yards down the field.
Oh, I know. Believe me, I know. I watched a lot of games with Cam Newton in 2020 when he played a full season at starter. We'll go to the AFC South now. We'll say potentially Bryce Young.
No.
Gardner Minshew. That's the Indy one right now.
Even if Anthony Richardson is starting and he completed 50% of his passes in college, no.
Trevor Lawrence.
No.
Ryan Tannehill.
No. Malik Willis, no.
Yeah.
Joshua Dobbs, maybe even.
Well, I think he's back in Cleveland.
No.
Yeah. So that he's not playing in the AFC East. The AFC East is wiped out. We'll start with the NFC now. Dak Prescott.
No.
Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones can't play quarterback, and he's still better than Cam Newton.
Yeah. I'll come on and admit, I'm not the biggest Daniel Jones fan. He's definitely better than Cam Newton. I'll tell you that. Jalen Hurts. No. Yes. Sam Howell.
I like Sam Howell coming out of college, and I know I know his arm and shoulder still function. So no.
NFC West. Kyler Murray. Hold on.
No. The football baby, even with a torn ACL, is better.
Matt Stafford with a broken neck.
Matt Stafford, broken back, broken neck, broken elbow. He's got tennis elbow. He's got no offensive line. He's blind in one left eye. He's fat now because he's sitting on the couch for 8 weeks. No.
It don't matter. Stafford and 4. Brock Purdy.
Trey Lance and Brock Purdy. No. Sam Darnold, no.
Geno Smith.
No. Drew Lock, no.
All right. NFC North. Justin Fields.
No.
Jared Goff.
No.
Jordan Love.
No.
Kirk Cousins.
No.
That leaves one division. One division is left. He's still not better than any of these quarterbacks. Desmond Ridder. It's close. It's close. I know.
Desmond Ritter's not good. I didn't see anything of him that I think there's potential there, but he still is young, and Cam Newton is 33, so I'll say no.
Cam Newton's also been out of football for a year.
And he has no shoulder.
Yeah.
So.
C.J. Stroud.
No.
Derek Carr.
No.
The last one, Baker Mayfield. Or Kyle Trask. Go on, just say it. Say it. I know what you want to say. I know it's breaking your heart. Yeah. Okay.
No.
I mean, the Baker and Ritter ones are toss-ups, but Cam Newton is never getting a starting job ever again in the NFL.
Listen, he said they're signing randoms these days. Cam.
You are the random.
No, yes. You haven't played a full season since your last year in Carolina. Cam, listen, again, I gave him his flowers. He was amazing. Listen,
time to pack it in.
The thing is, you can get a backup role.
Chad Henning retired.
Listen, I think a team would sign Cam Newton to be a backup if he was willing to mentor, really come in, be a team leader, and understand that he just needs to stay ready for if he ever is needed, but he's not coming in to compete for a job. Cam is an ultra competitor. He has the utmost confidence in himself to still compete, which I respect. You are not that good. You're exactly right. There's not 32 people better than you. There's not 32 starting quarterbacks.
There's 40.
There's probably about 45 to 50 better than you.
Maybe 60. We got 100.
You can be a backup in the NFL. Someone will sign you to be a backup. But he doesn't want to be a backup, and he has no respect for what being a backup quarterback does. I mean, it's a very important job. I mean, they don't do a whole lot, but you have to stay ready. Backups are asked you're asked to come in with no reps and keep the car on the road. He can do that.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to do that.
I thought we should just talk about that. I just thought that was a fun little segment we could do right there to name off every starter. But we'll move on to let's talk about some guys who are actually young and who have not been in the league yet. There are reports that there's a possibility that Carolina could go with Anthony Richardson, kind of like the second coming of Cam Newton for him. Think there's any possibility here? Do you think this would be a good job by Carolina? How are you feeling about that?
We had this discussion when we first talked about it. You can't get fired for taking Anthony Richardson 101 because the upside is just immense. If the guy hits, it's going to be ridiculous. But if you're trading all that to go to the 101, I feel like taking Bryce Young or CJ Stroud is just the better option. I think they have safer floors. You know what you're going to get with them. And their ceilings are, maybe just as high. These guys can be very good quarterbacks. Take one of them. They work better with Frank Reich. But I understand why you'd want Anthony Richardson. I can't endorse it because I feel like it's a waste of a pick because you have CJ Stroud and Bryce Young who played really well in college, have safer floors, and these are guys that the league has been looking at for a while now to come in and be great quarterbacks. Anthony Richardson just kind of popped up on the radar, and he tested really well at the combine, and now we're all in love with him. I understand that the upside is immense, but I'll take a little less upside for a much safer prospect at 101.
Yeah, I think you made some great points there. I don't think it will happen. I just think because there's a lot of similarities between him and Lamar and him and Newton, so I think there's always a possibility. But another rookie I want to talk about is Bijan Robinson. He's been really highly touted. They're saying he's probably the best prospect for running back since Saquon Barkley. But I just saw, I believe it was today, that he could fall to Philly. Now, if he falls to Philly, how do you feel about that? I think that'd be a great pickup for Philly, but I don't know if it will happen. Because
Well,
I don't think they pick him 13 or wherever they are.
yeah, I would have, coming into this offseason, I would have said that I love that spot. But with the departures they've had on the defensive side of the ball and some of the age that they have over there and the age that's on their offensive line now, I think it's best to not use a high pick on Bijan for them. It's, to me, coming into the offseason, if they would have kept a lot of their players, a lot of their returning starters, they would have had the luxury to take a Bijan. I just don't think it's smart to take that high of a pick now, even though he's a dynamic prospect, like we've said, one of the best running back prospects we've seen in recent years. It's just the position is being undervalued a lot. So I just don't think it's smart to take that pick. The last I saw, he got mocked to the Patriots. Daniel Jeremiah, I think, it was someone at 14. That's
still high.
It doesn't make a lot of sense to me why the Patriots would take him. They have Ramondre Stevenson. You have Pierre Strong. You just signed James Robinson. I think that's a fine running back room. Again, he's a great prospect. But the running back position is just so volatile. It's hard to endorse spending that type of draft capital on him unless you already have a solid roster and you don't, and your running back room is kind of weak. You know what I mean? So it'll be interesting to see where he goes because, again, he's a great player. He's a top 5 talent in this draft. He just plays the wrong position. If he was a wide receiver, yeah, anyone would want him in the top 10.
Now, because we are going to do mock draft stuff later on, I kind of want, let's give him a little preview. So, where do you think he could end up? Because for me, a couple teams that I think that could go after him are the Chargers, if they don't get Eckler back. I think Cincinnati could make a run at him, depending on what they do with Joe Mixon. I thought Dallas was in the run, but I don't know now with signing Ronald Jones. I thought they could have got Bijan late because they're late first round and maybe not sign back Pollard after the franchise tag.
Which I think is still on the table. I mean, Ronald Jones doesn't change anything. Let's be honest.
No, I know. They did sign the replacement for Zeke. So I think the chances went down a little bit, but those are my top 3.
I think the Cowboys are still the most likely spot, I'm going to be honest. It makes the most sense. It's something Jerry Jones would do. Again, I wouldn't endorse it, but it's something that Jerry Jones would do. And that's just a spot that makes the most sense. A low-key team is Washington. I don't know if Washington has a first. Or where they're picking exactly. Hold on. I have to look this up because I have to make sure. So the Commanders are picking 16th. They have some holes on their roster, for sure. But I like that landing spot for Bijan as well. They want to run the ball. Airbnb, he could get himself he's been on a team that's taken a running back in the first round. They took Clyde Edwards-Helaire at 132 just a couple years ago in KC. And Bijan is a million times the prospect that CEH was. So, Washington, Dallas, one of those teams. But it'll be interesting for sure because, again, the position is just so undervalued. But all the analysts I've heard and read, they've said he's going to be in the top 20, top 25. Again, he's a top 5 player in this draft. He just plays the wrong position. But it's hard to give a team that drafts him a good draft grade because of the position he plays. You're getting a great player. It's just at the wrong position.
I'm sorry. My phone keeps going off, and I keep looking at it. I think you made great points. I think like you said, the position's so undervalued, and it's hard judging how good a running back can be because we've seen it with Zeke. The legs don't hold up. Most of the time, the legs get shot. So it's hard. It's hard drafting a guy for the future to try and keep him there long term. I think you see that once in a blue moon now. So I'm just interested to see where he goes because I think he's going to be great. Wherever he goes, I think he's a great player. But like you said, since the position's so undervalued, you just don't know where it's going to be. Anything else you want to add for this episode?
No, I think we had a great episode, man. We talked about a lot of different things.
Got a lot of info.
Getting into draft season.
Yes.
Getting into draft season.
But, yeah, I mean, we talked about the AFC West, NFC West, some free agent signings. But that's going to do it for us today. Next time you guys tune in, we'll probably hit the AFC East and NFC East. We got 3 divisions left. I believe we didn't end up doing the AFC South. So we'll have to cover the AFC South next. But that's going to be it for us today. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Armchair GMs. We hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you guys next time.